This frequency can shift your state of consciousness. For centuries, a fascinating idea has whispered through esoteric circles. The belief that a specific sound, a particular vibration, could unlock a higher state of consciousness. For just as long, this has been mostly dismissed as wishful thinking, a romantic notion that doesn't really have a place in our modern, scientific world. But what if there's a kernel of truth to it? What if there's more to this story? Intriguing new questions are beginning to bubble up from the worlds of neuroscience and physiology. Researchers are now starting to explore how certain sound frequencies might physically influence our brainwaves. Science is finally starting to test this ancient intuition, and the early clues are, to say the least, fascinating. We're not talking about magic here. We're talking about a potential for measurable biological responses. We're talking about a sound that might just have the ability to shift your very state of being. Section 1. The Whispers of a Lost Harmony. So, what's all the buzz about? It really comes down to one number, 432 hertz. There's a popular modern theory that this specific musical tuning was understood and used by ancient cultures, from the Greeks to the Egyptians. The idea is that their instruments may have been tuned to this pitch, which they believed was a fundamental vibration of the cosmos, a sound in harmony with nature itself. Now let's be clear, this is a modern hypothesis. There is no definitive historical or archaeological proof that 432 hertz was some kind of universal, ancient standard. In reality, ancient instruments have been found with a whole range of tunings, likely based on what was practical at the time. So, if 432 hertz isn't our standard, what is? Almost all the music you listen to today, from pop songs on the radio to a movie score, is tuned to a different standard, A equals 440 hertz. This wasn't chosen for any mysterious or nefarious reason. It was adopted internationally in the mid-20th century to solve a very practical problem: consistency. Before that, orchestras in different cities tuned to slightly different pitches, which made it a nightmare for musicians and instrument makers to collaborate. The 440 hertz standard fixed that logistical headache. But this created a fascinating new question. In the process of making things consistent, did we unintentionally tune ourselves out of something more fundamental? This question has fueled a renewed interest in 432 hertz, turning it from a historical curiosity into a subject of genuine scientific curiosity. The debate isn't about whether 440 hertz is bad, but whether 432 hertz might offer something different, something that speaks to our biology in a unique way. Section 2. The brain's hidden rhythm. To understand how a sound frequency could possibly affect us, we need to talk about the symphony of electrical activity happening inside your head every single second. When we measure this activity, it creates patterns called brainwaves. You can think of these brainwaves like the gears of a car, each one suited for a different speed. Beta waves are high gear. They're dominant when you're active, alert, focused, and solving problems. Alpha waves are a lower gear. They show up when you're in a state of relaxed, reflective calm. You're not asleep, but you're not intensely focused on the outside world either. This is the state often linked to meditation, daydreaming, and creativity. Then there are even slower waves, like a theta, which appear in deep relaxation or light sleep, and delta, associated with deep, dreamless sleep and the body's restoration process. Now here's where it gets interesting. Our brains have a tendency to synchronize their own electrical rhythms with the rhythm of outside stimuli. This is a real, documented neurological process called brainwave entrainment. The simplest analogy is tapping your foot to a song. Without even thinking, your body syncs up. Brainwave entrainment is the neural version of that. A rhythmic sound, like a beat, can gently encourage your brain to shift its own gears to match the external pulse. So the core question becomes this: could music tuned to a specific frequency, like 432 hertz, act as an external stimulus that encourages our brains to shift into a particular state? Could listening to music at 432 hertz be an invitation for your brain to produce more of those calm, creative alpha waves, effectively helping you shift from the busy beta state of daily life into a more relaxed, open state of awareness? Section 3. The emerging science of 432 hertz. This is where we move from theory to the lab. The scientific investigation into 432 hertz is still very new, and the body of research is small and developing. It's important to approach this with a healthy dose of curiosity and scientific humility. We don't have definitive proof, but we do have a growing collection of interesting clues. Several small-scale studies have started to explore what happens to us when we listen to music at 432 hertz, often comparing it directly to the 440 hertz standard. One of the most fascinating areas is stress. Our bodies react to stress by producing the hormone cortisol. In a randomized clinical trial published in the Journal of Applied Oral Science, researchers looked at patients with dental anxiety. They found that while music at both 440 hertz and 432 hertz helped reduce how much anxiety the patients felt, there was a notable difference in their biological stress response. The group listening to 432 hertz music showed significantly lower levels of salivary cortisol compared to both the 440 hertz and control groups. This suggests 432 hertz may have a more direct calming effect on the body's physiological stress machinery. Other preliminary studies have hinted at similar trends. Some researchers have reported that listening to 432 hertz music was associated with a slight decrease in heart rate and blood pressure when compared to 440 hertz. These are classic signs of the body entering a more relaxed rest and digest state. And what about the brain itself? EEG studies, which measure brainwave activity, are just beginning to offer a glimpse. Some emerging research has suggested that music at 432 hertz might be linked to an increase in alpha brainwave activity, which, as we discussed, is the signature of a relaxed mind. One EEG study even noted that listeners seemed more focused and emotionally engaged with the music at 432 hertz. There's also some early exploration into its effects on sleep. A pilot study from 2020 looked at patients with spinal cord injuries who suffered from poor sleep. The results suggested that the group listening to music tuned to 432 hertz saw a significant improvement in sleep quality compared to those who listened at 440 hertz. It is absolutely essential to repeat. This research is preliminary. The studies are often small, and the effects aren't always massive. Much more research is needed to draw any firm conclusions. However, the early findings are intriguing. They point toward the possibility that music tuned to 432 hertz isn't just subjectively calming, but that it may be interacting with our neurophysiology in a way that science is just beginning to understand. Section 4. Beyond the lab, the human experience. While the science slowly and carefully does its thing, millions of people around the world aren't waiting for the final verdict. They're already bringing 432 hertz music into their lives, and their personal stories are a huge part of this conversation. Many people report using 432 hertz music to find deeper states of meditation. They claim it helps quiet the mental chatter, making it easier to slip into a state of mindfulness. It feels like the frequency is doing some of the heavy lifting, gently guiding the mind toward stillness. Others use it for focus and creativity. By potentially helping to calm the nervous system and reduce the background noise of stress, some listeners report that 432 hertz helps create a mental space where creative ideas can flow more freely and they can concentrate better on complex tasks. And maybe most of all, it's used for simple, profound relaxation. People turn to 432 hertz to unwind after a crazy day, to help manage feelings of anxiety, or just to create a peaceful vibe at home. The experience is often described as feeling softer, warmer, and more enveloping than standard tuned music. For many, it's a kind of sound therapy for emotional balance and inner peace. These personal experiences aren't happening in a vacuum. They seem to mirror the very questions that scientists are beginning to explore. The reported feelings of calm and clarity could very well be the subjective side of what researchers are starting to measure. A potential reduction in stress hormones, a slowing of the heart rate, and a brain gently shifting into a relaxed, alpha wave state. The conversation between historical belief, personal experience, and scientific data is going to continue for years. But here's the cool part. You don't have to wait for a final verdict from a scientific journal to start forming your own opinion. You can become your own researcher right now. I invite you to try it for yourself. After this video, find a piece of music tuned to 432 hertz. Put on a good pair of headphones, close your eyes, and just listen. Don't try to force anything. Just notice. How does it feel in your body? What happens to your thoughts? Your personal experience is the most valuable piece of data you can possibly have. Conclusion. So where does this leave us? What began as a whisper of ancient, mystical belief is now the subject of some really fascinating scientific questions. The idea that a specific sound could shift our consciousness is slowly moving from the realm of lore into the world of neurobiology. While it's certainly not a magic bullet, the exploration of frequencies like 432 hertz opens an interesting new window into the mind-body connection. It shows us that the vibrations filling our world might have a more subtle impact than we realize, possibly shaping our stress levels, our brainwaves, and our very experience of reality. The journey to understand this phenomenon is just getting started. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. If this sparked your curiosity, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the intersection of science and consciousness. And please share your experience with 432 hertz in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you discover.